This is a podcast from Duncan Cartlidge Online, the online resource for all construction professionals that's available 24/7. Please don't forget to subscribe at the place you usually get your podcasts so as not to miss a thing in this second series, as well as visiting our YouTube channel. Hello again and welcome to another podcast from Duncan Cartlidge Online. As usual, Barney, my red Labrador, is here to offer advice and to keep an eye on proceedings. I have to say it's great to see the sun shining and the dawn chorus in full voice when Barney and I go out for our early morning walk. But enough of that. As always, we would really appreciate it if you would like to write a review, and if you're new to Duncan Cartlidge Online podcasts, welcome. Please don't forget to subscribe, as well as catching up with previous episodes. If you're already a subscriber, thank you for your support. In this packed episode, we cover a wide variety of topics including Build Baby Build hits the buffers, should cost planning, what exactly is this, and corruption in construction. Now, it's a family affair. Okay, let's start off with Build Baby Build hits the buffers. Despite the government's stated ambition to build baby build, they seem to be putting so many obstacles in the way that you really begin to wonder whether they are serious or indeed if they even understand how the industry works. In January, more than 300 construction firms became insolvent in England and Wales, and the outlook for the year looks uncertain. If that's not bad enough, yes, it's finally here. The employer's increase in national insurance contributions is about to kick in, and make no mistake, for contractors who employ direct labour, as well as material manufacturers, transport firms, etc., it's going to be a big blow. If you don't already know, from the 6th of April, the level at which employers' contributions have to be paid has been lowered to £5,000, and the contribution rate has increased from 13.5% to 15%. We recently recalculated the enhanced hourly rate that's included for subscribers under the Resources tab on Duncan Cartlidge Online website, and the impact of the increase in national insurance rates is truly alarming. At a time when many contractors are struggling with profit margins, this could be the straw that breaks the camel's back, as the increase reduces already thin margins. In addition, the Employment Rights Bill is looming, which, if passed, will make flexible working the default position and give an employee the right to claim unfair dismissal from day one. So, how's the 1.5 million homes in 5 years target doing? Latest figures show the house building has declined with the sharpest fall outside the pandemic since 2009. How many homes have been built so far, and how many are going to be finished, ready for occupation by July, which is now only 3 months away, when the government will have been in place for 12 months, should give us a measure of how many homes will be built over the next 4 years. During the last 6 months of 2024, a little more than 100,000 homes were built. The planning system is still disjointed, the Building Safety Act is a hot potato, and where are the workers and the planners? The Royal Town Planning Institute reports that local authorities have lost 25% of their planners over the last 5 years, with Peter Hogg of Arcadis branding the shake-up in the planning system as a red herring. In addition, on the back of the Building Safety Act, the autumn will see the Building Safety Levy introduced. The Building Safety Act is already responsible for major delays in higher-risk building approvals, but in addition it will see developers in England, Scotland is currently discussing introducing a similar levy, will pay a fee on new housing developments which require building control approval. The levy is expected to raise £3.4 billion over the next 10 years, ostensibly, we are led to believe, to fund remediation, irrespective of whether contractors have actually built anything that's unsafe, and it is thought it will be punitive, particularly for small and medium enterprise home builders. The House Builders Federation have warned government on the potential negative impact on their Build Baby Build policy. In response, the government has denied it will have any effect, although the government has now agreed to push back the implementation of the levy until autumn 2026. As well as increased legislation and red tape, another factor holding back the construction output is, of course, lack of skilled workers across all trades. So, could inclusivity be the solution to increase capacity in construction, or is construction still predominantly male and stale? In the past few weeks, we have seen wide coverage of women in construction, and a good thing too, and the need for construction to embrace diversity, particularly where skill shortages are hindering output, which incidentally is not only affecting the UK. The figures show a mixed picture. According to the Office for National Statistics, for while the number of women in professional roles has increased by over 50%, in contrast, the number of women in skilled trades has fallen by nearly 20% and continues to decline. It appears as though the government has at last woken up to the crisis of skills, as it has announced, as part of their emergency budget, a £600 million package over the next 4 years to, and I quote, get young people into well-paid, highly skilled jobs in the construction sector. 60,000 extra skilled workers have been promised. Now, two things occur to me. Firstly, you have to convince Gen Z that their future career lies on a cold and often muddy building site. And the other is, will companies be able to afford to take on additional staff? And while on the question of diversity, there is still no news from the RICS on the consultation they carried out in 2024 on their proposals for revising pathways into the institution to make entry more inclusive. The summary of the recommendations published in June 2024 is full of rhetoric but little detail. Rumour has it that the members' reaction to some of the proposals to, and I quote, transformative change across all aspects of the RICS assessment model that were discussed at the roundtable events were, let's say, less than enthusiastic, and of course, they still have their moth problem to solve. And now turning to should cost planning. Apologies for any strange noises. I think Barney is having a dream. In the last podcast, I referred to HS2 and how the costs were spiralling out of control towards £100 billion, and how the Public Accounts Committee had commented that neither the Department of Transport nor HS2 Limited currently have the skills or capabilities to make a success of the programme. Last week I was driving past the HS2 site in Birmingham, where bridges are being constructed for the rail tracks to pass over the M6 motorway. The operation looked truly mega, and it occurred to me, is it ever possible to accurately predict the cost of such massive projects, given the uncertainty, the sheer scope and risks, or should we be honest and say all we can do is come up with a ballpark figure? After all, most major civil engineering projects are tendered on an ad measure or remeasure basis, which means that work is measured initially to obtain bids, and then remeasured and valued as the work is carried out, although there are exceptions such as method-related charges that will be discussed later. This approach recognises the uncertainties when carrying out civil engineering works and the unlikely prospect of being able to measure accurately from drawings prior to commencement on site. When I first heard the term should cost planning, I remember thinking, this sounds so contrived. Is it a spelling mistake? Can there really be anything new in it? Should cost planning was introduced in 2021 and it attempts to try, and I quote, brings some greater accountability to the turnout costs of mega projects, and was referred to in the Construction Playbook of 2022. Undoubtedly, Bent Fleidberg and his pals, see podcasts 9 and 10, would be delighted to learn that mega projects were at last apparently undergoing more detailed scrutiny before being given the green light. So I can hear you asking, what is a should-cost plan? Officially, should-cost planning or modelling refers to a process of creating a detailed cost breakdown of a project by analysing all the factors that contribute to the cost to determine what the project should cost. Now, you could be excused for thinking, shouldn't we have been doing that anyway? However, the official line states that should-cost planning is based on market data, realistic labour rates, material prices, and efficient construction practices. Well, good luck with that. Essentially acting as a benchmark to compare against actual costs and identify potential saving opportunities during the procurement and the construction phase. The should-cost plan should include costs of additional market factors such as risk and profit to provide an understanding of whole life cost, including the impact of risk and uncertainty on both costs and schedule. It sounds to me rather like the OGC Gateway Review, which, although now archived, is still used in a way of introducing due diligence into large infrastructure projects in the form of a series of gateways or checks. The Gateway Review was archived, along with other OGC guidance, as a cost-cutting measure in 2010 when the OGC was subsumed into the Cabinet Office. Archiving means that, although accessible, it will not be updated. Nevertheless, it is still considered by many that the OGC Gateway Review process still provides one of the best and most comprehensive sets of guidance for public sector projects. Now, like a phoenix rising out of the ashes, the OGC Gateway Review appears to have resurfaced in 2021, rebadged as the Gate Review, which to me looks very much like a business case. It is suggested that in some cases, the should-cost planning details could be made available to tendering contractors during the bidding process, thereby allowing evaluation of the costs of the suppliers. Now, there's nothing particularly radical about this. Civil engineering has always had a more grown-up approach to procurement compared with building, with its them and us silo approach, with the realisation that contractor involvement at an early stage can, and often is, beneficial. This can be particularly useful when using the civil engineering standard method of measurement to prepare the bid documentation, as it allows the tendering contractors to submit their own so-called method-related charges, which in effect is a method statement demonstrating how individual contractors will approach the project, along with how and where their costs are allowed for. It also allows for contractors to suggest alternative methods and approaches. According to the official guidance, should-cost planning will use analytical techniques such as unit cost estimating, take account of uncertainty and include relevant risks, and model a number of different options for comparison and sensitivity purposes. In this respect, should-cost planning appears to be similar to the Green Book and the business case development process, which, for those who don't know, the Green Book is guidance issued by HM Treasury on how to appraise policies, programs and projects. It also provides guidance on the design and the use of monitoring and evaluation before, during and after implementation. So, is should-cost planning a game changer? Personally, I don't really think so. As the saying goes, rubbish in, rubbish out. And finally, a look at a corruption case that's been rumbling on for a few years now. Construction corruption, now it's a family affair. Once again, construction raised its ugly head this week in a manner that does little to enhance the reputation of the construction industry for the general public. Two high-profile figures, the ex-Liverpool Mayor Joe Anderson and Derek Hatton, along with 12 others, were charged with bribery or misconduct relating to council contracts, according to Merseyside Police. The charges relate to bribery and misconduct over the awarding of contracts from Liverpool City Council between 2010 and 2020. Anderson stood down in 2021 after he was arrested, is charged with 1 count of bribery and 1 count of misconduct in a public office and 1 count of conspiracy to commit misconduct in a public office. Others caught in the net are Derek Hatton, the former deputy leader of the Liverpool Council, Sonia Hatton, Derek Hatton's wife, who previously worked as a planning officer at the council. She is charged with misconduct in a public office. Others charged under the Operation Aloft, where did he find these names, include Joe Anderson's son, David Anderson, a Liverpool businessman who is charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit misconduct in public office. Posting on X after the charges were brought, Joe Anderson issued fresh denials of the charges and said he would fight to clear his name. Well, he would, wouldn't he? He has previously denied the claims and criticised the length of time the investigation has taken, which began in 2020. He's obviously never heard of Operation Branchform. Well, that's all for this episode, folks. I hope you found it interesting. Thank you for listening to the end. This has been a podcast from Duncan Cartlidge Online. Barney and I would be really appreciative if you were to spread the word, subscribe, and if you have the time, write a review. Take care. Bye for now.